Hello guys, welcome back to John's Workshop. I'm going to call this video Workshop Blether and the reason I'm calling it that is I'm going to do a video probably once a month, which is just a bit of discussion around the workshop, which isn't really a project but a bit of discussion maybe about future projects, what I've been up to in the workshop in the background, and in this video I'm going to discuss cameras. So my camera that I've been using, that those who are sort of watched most of my videos will be aware that I've had all sorts of problems with flickering with the lights and various other things. Hopefully now you'll be able to notice that all of that's gone away, which is really good. So my new camera that I ordered a few weeks ago has finally turned up. So what we'll do is we'll do a quick discussion around which camera I've bought, and I'll have to use the old camera for that bit, and then I'm just going to do a bit of a tour around the workshop really, and some discussion around various upcoming projects and upcoming things that I'm going to be getting involved in the workshop. So that's what this will be called, and like I say, I'll do one of these once a month or something like that. So for those that don't know, Blether is a very Scottish word, and being as this is a Scottish filmed channel, I think I'm okay to use it, even though I'm not Scottish myself. So and you know, Aid's got his shed talk, and there's various other people who do shop talk and things like that. So it's in that similar sort of vein, but I wanted to use a different title that was a bit more sort of unique to this channel really. So we're going to call them Workshop Blether. So there you go. So a blether, for those who don't know the word, it means basically a good natter, a good chit chat, whatever. That's a Scottish term. So what I'll do is I'll hold up now the camera that I have been using. So this is the camera that I've used to date, and this is hopefully you'll now see that my focus is working really well, and everything's, you know, it's far better, this camera that I've bought. So this is what I was using. It's a Chinese copy of, I think it's a Chinese copy of a JVC, because they've called it DVC in the same sort of writing as JVC have on their videos. So it's kind of an out-and-out copy of a JVC video camera. I mean, it's done the job. It's got me to where I've got to. I can't really fault it. It was about 40-50 quid, something like that, off Amazon. So it's done the job, but what I'm seeing with this new camera, as well as the flicker has gone and the focus is much better, I can focus really close in now on stuff, which will be really great for projects. But also I'm stood right in front of the camera now, and you'll see that I've got it's got a wide angle lens on, so from a viewer perspective it's going to be a lot better, because you're going to be able to see a lot more of what's actually going on. Whereas this camera, I would need to be stood, I would need to have this camera sat on the tripod at the other end of the garage to get the same sort of viewing shot. So it's got a very narrow field of vision on it. As I say, I can't grumble at it. It's filmed a lot of video, and it's got me to sort of got the channel off the ground and got started. So what I'll do now is I'll just pop the cards over, and so that I can film the camera that I've bought and just take you through a bit of that, and then we'll do a bit of a tour around the workshop, and I'll bring you up to speed with some stuff that's going to be going on over the coming weeks and months. Okay, I've just switched back to the old camera just for a very small period, obviously, and we can see the flickerings come back again, but it'll only be quick, and it's just really to show the new camera. So this is a Sony Handycam, and this was kind of the cheapest of the known branded video cameras, if you want to call it that I could find when I did my search, and it was an extra 25, I think, pound cheaper if I was willing to wait a couple of weeks. This has obviously been shipped direct from China as opposed to coming through a UK agent, so I saved a bit more money that way. But yeah, so it's a Sony Handycam. I've not really fully obviously got to grips with it. I've just basically took it out of the box, put the battery in, charged it, brought it out and started doing a couple of films just to see how it performs. first impressions, it's half the weight of the Chinese camera that I've just shown you from. Having said that, this is made in China, they're both Chinese cameras, but this one will be built to a standard as opposed to the other one that was built to a price, and that's the difference. But it's half the weight, it's incredibly light, which feels a bit weird if I'm honest. I prefer the weight of the other one, if I'm honest, the heavier one. It just feels a bit more like it's got some body to it, but it's incredibly light. One thing that I am impressed with this, the focus, obviously, as you'll see as I go through some more project videos and stuff, is incredibly good, and also it's got some image stability software built into it, so if you go handheld with it, it's just like almost like you've got it on a gimbal. It really smooths out the movement, so I think that's going to come in handy when I do some kind of handheld footage. So the basic controls are the same. It flips open to switch it on. You can spin the screen round so that you can view what you're filming from the front, which is good. The menus are quite simple. It's not a touch screen, whereas the cheap camera I've got has got a touch screen on it. To be honest, I prefer it not a touch screen. So you've got a set of buttons there for navigating the menus and stuff. But very simple to use, very easy. Nice little touch with the charging cable. It just tucks neatly away into the hand grip thing. These are meant to be used in this way really for I guess an outdoor type vlogging camera. That's how they're designed, but equally happy on a tripod. So that's the camera. It's 9.2 megapixels. It's a Carl Zeiss lens, wide angle lens on it, which is making all of the difference. It has a manual open and shutter at the front, which is good to protect the lens from dirt or damage. So yeah, first impressions, very, very pleased with it, and hopefully the quality of the videos now is going to get much better. I've yet to understand what the sound quality of this one's like, but we'll see when I come to edit this video. But really, from now on, everything I shoot is going to be filmed with this. I will keep the other camera in the background in case I ever want to set two cameras up, which is highly unlikely really, but it might come in handy for getting two different separate views of the same thing maybe. I might have a play with that at some point in the future. So anyway, quick overview. Sony Handycam, I think I paid 140 something pound, and it's taken 2 weeks to get here, so but I'm dead pleased with it so far. So I'll stick this one back on the tripod now. I'll swap the cards back over again, stick this one on the tripod, and we will then start doing a bit of a workshop tour and a bit of a discussion around future projects and things that are going on in the workshop. Okay guys, well, next bit of the video, it's my second bit of viewer mail that's come in, and this is from one of my subscribers, Mike. This has been in the workshop now for a good few weeks since it got sent to me. I know what's in it because we had a bit of email traffic either way, so we'll just get that open and I'll show you what that is and a bit of the story behind it. So this is a lathe tool, and the reason Mike was kind enough to send it to me was because it doesn't fit his lathe, because he's got a smaller lathe that won't accept this shank size. So it's a CNMG type lathe tool, which is perfect because I've got a load of CNMG inserts, and I took you through those on a previous episode. But I've got heaps and heaps of CNMG inserts. Most of them have been used to a lesser degree in aerospace and were being thrown away. So I've got loads of these inserts to go at. and I do like the CNMG. It's my favourite. It's my favourite turning tool, favourite insert really for everything, because of the 80-degree insert. If you set this up square in the tool post, you can face with it, you can turn with it, without having to make any adjustments. So a very useful tool. So what I'm going to do is set that up now in one of the Dixon cartridges that I've made. So we'll move to the lathe now. But so there's the tool, and it comes with its own, obviously, Allen key and a couple of inserts. And I'm not sure whose inserts they are, but again, 2 inserts there. So very useful. So thank you, Mike. We'll move to the lathe now, and I'll get this set up in one of the Dixon cartridges that I've made. Okay, so I've got one of my new cartridges that I've made, so I'm just going to drop that onto the tool post. Obviously I still to make the height adjustment pieces, which will be coming in a video very soon. And we're going to set this new tool up in here. Not the most exciting of things for you to watch, but this is kind of behind the scenes stuff. You know, it's not a project, but it's just a bit of behind the scenes stuff that's going on in the workshop really. So there we go, that's it, all ready for use, apart from the height adjustment pieces that I'm going to make shortly. So that will be the CNMG tool, and what I shall do is I shall strip this one down. And as I've said, this is one of the holders that came with the lathe. It's the best fitting one, so this is the one that I took all of the dimensions from. It is chewed up on the inside where it clamps, so it's not ideal. So what I'm going to do with the 3 holders that came with the lathe, one of them I've already used for my knurling tool. And again, this was a recent purchase, this knurling tool. Again, it was too big to fit the holders, so I've milled that down, re-chemically blacked it. I had to strip all of this front end because nothing fitted very well or worked very well. So I've stripped all of that down, fettled it around so that it's now working correctly, and I've set that up in one of these cartridges that doesn't fit the tool post particularly well. For a knurling tool, it really doesn't matter because all the pressure's exerted just across the nails. So I think that'll be good enough for now, for the knurling tool. So I'm just setting up some tools, and what I'm going to use this cartridge for, I'm going to set a DTI up permanently on centre height for the lathe, and again, it doesn't need to be clamped tight because it's just for holding the clock. So these cartridges will be fine for those sort of jobs, and I'll save the new cartridges I've made for the stuff that really matters. So that's part of the stuff that's been going on in the background. So again, thank you, Mike, for the tool, very much appreciated. And the next job that I do will be the height adjustment pieces for the tool post, and I shall be using that new CNMG tool for the turning on that project. So some other things that I've been doing in the background. When I got the lathe, there was some carpet tile in here in the top, and it was all sort of dirty and messy. So we've took that out. We've cleaned all that up as part of the lathe cleanup, and I've bought some rubber sheet. It's 5mm thick rubber sheet, and I've just cut a square out of rubber sheet and dropped it in the top here, so that when I'm dropping my my stuff back down, it's not rattling around and it's not damaging the top of the lathe in any way. So I'm pleased with that. It's just quietened down the whole operation by not having clanky bangy tools straight onto the casting on the top of the headstock. What I've also done, and I'll just reposition the camera and show you the shelf down below, I've put a sheet of rubber on that as well, so I'll just show you that now. So I'm handheld here, guys, and this hopefully will show you a bit more of this camera in terms of its stability. So I'm just holding this by hand, and the image is incredibly stable. I'm really impressed with the the quality, the sort of motion correction that there is on this camera. Very, very good indeed. So you can see there, I've put a sheet of rubber on this bottom shelf under the lathe. I've got my fixed steady there. My additional set of jaws for the 3-jaw chuck are at the back in a bag. Again, they've all been cleaned up, oiled up, and set out under there, out the way. And then the 4-jaw chuck there, that's been stripped, completely cleaned, oiled up, put back together in the same way that I did with the 3-jaw. So that's now ready for use as well. So I've got my my tooling under there. There is some additional space under there, and eventually I'm going to look for a fixed steady as well as the travelling steady, and I shall store the fixed steady under there with the other tooling. So that's another bit of work that's been done on the lathe in the background. So I'm still handheld, guys. I'm really liking this new camera. It's incredibly good, and I just thought I'd show you this. So when I did the lathe strip down and clean up, the rubber wipers that were on the tailstock were just perished, and they just cracked and fell apart. What I did do was the rubber that I bought, that I've just shown you on the shelves, was 5mm, and I bought it in that thickness specifically because that was the thickness of the original wipers that was in here. So what I've done there is I've made 2 new wipers, just cutting them out with a Stanley knife really to the right shape, and they're now on the tailstock, and they work incredibly well. So what I'll do at some point in the future is I'm going to remake the wipers. These look like they're in much better condition on the saddle, but I shall remake some rubber wipers for the saddle, and I shall probably film that when I do that, and film how to make those. But it's dead quick, dead easy, and it just helps protect from swarf obviously getting underneath the tailstock or the saddle. Okay, so another future project I'm showing you here. I've got a spare monitor at the house. It's a Samsung one, and this stems from my old YouTube channel that I used to have, which was Flight 96. What I used to be into in a big way was flight simulators, and I built a full-size Boeing 737-800 flight simulator years and years ago, and this is one of the monitors that was used for the for that simulator that I built. I've no longer got that, so the monitor's sitting idle in the house just collecting dust. So I've brought that out into the shop, and the plan being that in this next bay here, in the middle, somewhere in this sort of area, I'm going to fix that monitor up to the wall, somewhere on there, and what I'm going to drive it with is this thing. When I was out in China for my work, we had some time to spare before we caught the plane back, and I was in Shanghai, and there's a market in Shanghai, they call it the fake market, and this is where you can buy things that have been ripped off. So this is a Samsung Galaxy Tab. It's a complete rip-off. It's an Android chassis, so it's an Android sort of background, base inside. It's got a plastic screen on the front. It is touch screen, but it's plasticky, and it's what it is. It's a cheap tablet, but the plan being, I've ordered a cable, so this has got mini USB output, and hopefully I've ordered a USB to HDMI cable that hopefully I'll be able to drive the monitor from this tablet, and I'm going to set all of that up over where I've just shown you up on the wall, so that when I've got drawings to work to, if I've done anything in CAD, I can bring the drawing out on the tablet. I can take the tablet in the house, get the drawing off the computer in the house that's got the CAD drawing on it, bring it out to the shop, plug it in, and I can display my CAD drawing up on the monitor on the wall, so that it's easy to see, easy to read, and it's right behind the lathe and the milling machine, so that I'm not wandering up and down to the whiteboard as you've seen me do when I made the Dixon cartridges. So that's the plan. And talking of the whiteboard, we'll move to the whiteboard now, and I'll just take your handheld for that, give you a bit more of a go at this image stabilisation. It really is good, this camera, I do like it. So here's the whiteboard, and this is typically where with the old camera it would have been flickering and, you know, really struggling, but you can see there it's completely gone as all that flicker, so I'm really pleased with this camera. So self-explanatory. I've had a few comments from a few subscribers saying, you know, what's next, what am I going to do next? So I've started making a list of stuff up there. So this is what's going to be coming up in future videos, future projects. So you can see there, carriage stop for the lathe. I need an oil seal for the lathe, which I'll go and talk you through in a moment. There's an oil leak on the carriage, and I need a new seal to go in. Tool holder accessories, what I mean by that is what you can see down below, which is the height adjustment pieces and the clamping screws. So I've measured up the originals, and I've created myself a couple of drawings there. So probably the next project I do will be the manufacture of the height adjustment pieces, and then quickly followed on by the clamp screws. So that's a couple of upcoming projects. And tailstock die holder, that's up there as a project, because to make these clamp screws, there's obviously going to be 30 odd of those I need to make that have got an M8 thread on. I've got a die stock that will do it, but I'd like to have a tailstock die holder and just make the whole job much easier. So that'll be another project that I do. And the last one there is the milling head strip down. So I've still to strip the head on the mill, and when I do that, I'm going to be replacing all of the bearings inside, as well as giving it a damn good clean out. So and the F, by the way, apologies, at the side of these projects, just means it's going to film, you know, I'm going to film it and make an episode out of it. There were a couple of other projects up there, such as the 4-jaw chuck tear down and clean up, that I've wiped off, but I didn't film those because it's the same as what I've already shown on the 3-jaw chuck. So so that's a bit of upcoming project work that you'll see shortly. Another thing I'm going to do is move this whiteboard away up from its current position. It's going to find its third home in the shop. I'm going to take it down from where it is now, and I'm going to actually put it on the opposite wall here, and it's going to sit on top of where the cable is there. So the top of the whiteboard will be up at the top, up here. It'll sit over this cable just above the sockets and back up. And to do that, I'm going to need to make some spacers on the lathe, just to space the board out from the wall far enough so that I've got clearance over the cables. So that's another project that I'll do. I'll probably not film that, that's just real basic stuff, but I'm going to sit the whiteboard there, and eventually I'm going to buy a chair for the workshop, just for sitting on when I'm doing bench work and things like that. And what I shall probably do is, when I start each episode, I'll probably sit in front of the whiteboard so that I can put any topics up on the whiteboard for discussion. So that's the plan for the whiteboard move. So that's that. I'll bring you back in a moment when we look at the oil seal on the lathe. Okay, so we're looking in the tray of the lathe now, and you can see this puddle of oil that keeps appearing, and where that's coming from is the saddle gearbox, which is filled from this filling. This is a BSP threader, I think, on here. So you remove this filler plug, you fill this up. There's a sight glass just down here. This is a dual purpose sump. So here, this is a pump basically that pumps oil out of this sump up to the cross slide and oils all of the cross slide. But this also is the gearbox as well for the Traverse gears for the feed. So there is a bit of oil in there, so the oil leak is, you know, it's just below the sort of halfway mark on that glass, fortunately. But where it's leaking from, and this is a common fault on Harrison lathes, is it's this Traverse lever. So this is where you engage your power feed, and inside there's a rubber seal that seals this whole lever in place and stops the oil that's in this gearbox from leaking out. That rubber seal's completely perished, so obviously the minute you fill this sump up above the level of where this goes in, it's just leaking out the front. So I need to put a new seal in there. Now you can buy them from Harrison. They're 50 odd pound plus VAT, which is absolutely extortionate for what it is. I don't think I'm going to be doing that. I have seen another video, and what I shall do when I'll film this when I do it, because I'm going to need to strip off all of this front to get to it. So I'll film it, but I've seen another video, and I forget the guy's name, but he's got a Harrison M300 as well, and basically he's used a steering rod gaiter that you can buy for pence, you know, a couple of £1, and he's chopped that down and he's used that, and it works perfectly. So, you know, I'd rather pay a couple of £1 for a steering gaiter, and of course on the gaiter you've got two ends on it, so you're getting two seals for a couple of £1 as opposed to one seal for £50 from Harrison. So we'll have a go at that. We'll put a new oil seal in there, and then hopefully I'll stop this oil leak that I've got coming into the tray of the lathe. So that's also another upcoming project. So I'll put you back on the tripod now, and we'll just wrap this episode up. But that's really what this has been about. I'm just marvelling at this camera. The actual width of vision there is absolutely fantastic. You know, I can get the whole shop in now on this camera, which I'm really pleased about. So hopefully all of my camera woes have now gone away, and hopefully this is a much better quality picture. I'd be really keen to get your feedback if you think it's better, worse, or whatever. I think it's much better. Okay guys, that's it for this workshop blether. I'm going to try and keep them, you know, reasonably short. There's a lot of talking going on, and you know, not much activity in this particular one, but in future ones I'll try and include either a bit of machining or a bit of something, just as a bit of interest in the video, as well as all the sort of walk round and future plans. So just in wrapping this episode up, your feedback will be really welcome if you like this idea. As I say, I'll do probably one a month, and it'll just be a bit of round the shop, behind the scenes kind of stuff, future plans, that kind of thing. So I'll do one of those once a month, hopefully. But please, you know, give me your feedback if you think that's good, or if you think I could change it or include something else that you'd like to see. The feedback's more than welcome. It just helps me make sure that the content I'm putting out is good for you guys as well. You know, rather than just what I think's the right thing to do. So just as a final thing, again, Mike, thank you very much for the tool. That's going to make an incredibly useful addition to the lathe, and I'm looking forward to using it. So that's it for this episode. Thanks to my subscribers, my existing ones and my new ones. The last episode I did on the cartridges seems to have gone down incredibly well. My subscribers have gone up. I think I've picked up about 10 or 15 more subscribers just as a result of that one video. So that's all good. So thanks to the new subscribers. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. Feedback and comments incredibly welcome. I do enjoy the comments. It helps me ensure that what I'm doing is pitched at the right level, and everyone's finding the content useful. We'll leave this episode where it is at that. So thank you all for subscribing. If you're watching and you've not already subscribed, please do so, because it will help the channel grow, and help me get more feedback and more ideas and more comments for how to improve. So we'll catch you all on a future video very shortly, when we'll be back doing one of the projects that we've just been through on the whiteboard. So thank you all, and we'll catch you on a video very shortly.